Companions, welcome. People that go to African game parks want to see spectacles. You know, the vast herd sweeping across the plains, the big five, the pride of lions battling down a buffalo bull. And that's understandable because that is what the stuff of stories at dinner tables and cocktail parties are made of. And that is what makes crossing continents and oceans worthwhile. But unfortunately, in their haste to see the drama, they miss a whole world, and the world of small folk of the wilderness is vast. Usually goes unnoticed because these folk are small and they're furtive, and they mostly are nocturnal, and they blend in very well with their surroundings, and they hide because they have got many predators. And actually, it's a tragedy because this is a fascinatingly interesting world. Now, I thought I'd share some of my observations in the bush about these small folk with you. I'll just talk about two for today, antlions and termites. And maybe at a future post, I'll talk about others. So let's talk about antlions first. I'm sure that many of you've seen those conical traps about the size of an egg holder that the antlions make in the sand. And maybe if you've been patient, you may have watched an ant or some other insect wander too close to the edge and tumble in, and how it desperately struggles to get out, and how the antlion flicks up sand to dislodge it. And once it tumbles into the center of the pit, the antlion darting out and grabbing it with its pincers. Now, what you may not know is that the pincers are hollow, and it injects the insect with a cocktail of enzymes which liquefy its interiors, and the insect is dragged under, dies a slow death in the hot sand. I can't think of anything more dramatic than that. And if the antlion was only about the size of a household cat, then I think we would have had howling crowds gathering around its pit. Anyway, to be less dramatic, the antlion that we see in the trap is the larva of the species. Eventually, it pupates inside a little silk cocoon in the sand that's usually covered by sand so one doesn't see it. Then it emerges as a fly, which is similar to a dragonfly but not as sturdy. It's actually a flimsy little thing. It hides during the day, and at night it flutters around, and it feeds on nectar and pollen, and it looks for a mate. And once it's been fertilized, it lays egg in the sand, and when the eggs hatch, we have an antlion again, and the cycle is repeated. The antlion doesn't stay in the pit for its entire life. It moves on after a while, and it leaves these tiny little tracks in the sand as it moves backwards, just under the surface. Now, I don't know how it decides where to stop, and when it decides to leave because there isn't enough prey, and what makes it choose a certain location. But nevertheless, isn't it interesting? Now, let's look at termites. This is a rosewood tree. It's probably tens of years old. It's huge. It's at least 3, maybe 4 stories tall. And if you look closely here, you can see earthen channels running up its trunk. And they run all the way up into the canopy. And these are made by termites from earth that they carry up grain by grain and cement in place with saliva and feces. These termites live in nests around the base of the tree, and they feed on dead bark and lichens and so on that they find in the tree. And they build these tunnels to protect them when they move up the tree to look for food. But the tunnels are not fortresses. They are designed for concealment and for climate control, because the termites are soft-bodied and they're sensitive to the environment, and the tunnel protects them a bit. They also built on the sheltered side of the tree trunk. They're very purpose-built, just strong enough to achieve those two objectives of concealment and climate control. How on earth did the termites arrive at this plan to build these tunnels all the way up the tree to protect them like that, and so purposefully? Some people think we know that termites are lowly animals. They're really just a bunch of basic instincts like reading pheromone trails, responding to tactile impulses, building specific patterns that they hadn't actually thought out, they're just instinctive. So individually, they're totally incapable to conceive of tunnels like that. Now, some of these termites, and I'm not enough of an entomologist to know to which species these particular termites belong, but some of them actually
farm fungi under the ground.
But they really are incapable individually of conceiving the idea of a farm and running it and building a city and building these protective tunnels all the way up the tree. We also know that they belong to a colony, and the colony acts as a single superorganism which has got astonishing organization and division of labor and discipline that enables them to regulate their world. So from this blind instinct emerges living intelligence. Now here's one of the thoughts fascinate me when I look at them. Have they actually reached the pinnacle of their intelligence? Now if you look at what happens with modern large language models, these are also constructed of very simple components. Now, aren't these ants perhaps also poised on the brink of breaking out of their simple life and becoming super intelligent super organisms? What if just a tiny shift, maybe a chance mutation or a subtle change in the environment, triggers this superorganism to launch itself down a path of superintelligence that we neither understand nor can control? It's a thought that is as marvelous as it is unsettling. You know, nature whispers to us that the boundary between blind instinct and superintelligent innovation is indeed a very thin one. These simple passages up the tree holds up a mirror to the deepest mysteries of mind and creation. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you'll join me again next week. Good luck.